The world is indeed in a mess because it does not know truth, doesn't know about itself, doesn't know about God, doesn't know about the gospel. And when we read here about doom, the end, it is looking forward to an end of this world. The world's not made to last forever. Nothing physical, material lasts forever. Nothing. We die. Can I remind you that one of the most well-known scientists in the world, Astronomer Royal of Britain, called Martin Rees, has written a book called The Final Generation, which he says the odds are 50-50 that our civilization will survive this century. He is not a Christian. He says the odds are 50-50. And he goes on to say that early on we were the masters of technology, but he says now technology threatens to master us. And just a little mistake of judgment nowadays can result in millions of deaths. Not necessarily wickedness, just stupidity. Chernobyl's a case in point. You know, all those men that tried to build a cover over Chernobyl, they all died within a few years. I was in Europe not long after Chernobyl. But since that date, everyone close to Chernobyl has been in danger of terrible cancers. And it wasn't a wickedness, it was just a carelessness. So technology threatens to destroy us. And Martin Rees, well aware of that, has written the book, The Future Generation. So when we read in the New Testament about this gospel shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then the end shall come. No reason to scoff about it. And that end is prefigured by the destruction of Jerusalem that's set forth in Ezekiel. Now I want to look at another vision here before we take a break. Come please to the 8th chapter. This is a vision where Ezekiel is taken to Jerusalem. Look please at verse 3. The middle of the verse says, "The Spirit lifted me up between earth and heaven, and in visions of God he took me to Jerusalem, to the entrance to the north gate of the inner court, where the idol that provokes to jealousy stood. And there stood before me the glory of the God of Israel, as in the vision I'd seen in the plain," chapter 1. "He said to me, 'Son of man, look toward the north.' So I looked, and at the entrance north of the gate of the altar I saw this idol of jealousy. He said to me, 'Son of man, do you see what they're doing? The utterly detestable things the house of Israel is doing here, the things that will drive me far from my sanctuary. You'll see things that are worse, even more detestable.' Then he brought me to the entrance to the court. I looked and I saw a hole in the wall. He said, 'Son of man, dig into the wall.'" Remember, this is visionary. So I dug into the wall and saw a doorway. He said, "Go in. See the wicked and detestable things they're doing here." I went in and looked, and I saw portrayed all over the walls all kind of crawling things and detestable animals and all the idols of the house of Israel. And in front of them stood 70 elders of the house of Israel. Each had a censer in his hand. Verse 12, "Son of man, have you seen what they're doing? Each at the shrine of his own idol. They say the Lord doesn't see us. The Lord has forsaken the land." You'll see them doing things even more detestable. Then the 14th verse talks about women mourning for Tammuz. And then if you come down past the 16th verse, you read at the end of the 16th verse about people bowing down to the sun. And God refers to that as detestable in verse 17, and that it will fill the land with violence. Well, what's that all about? This vision is telling Ezekiel, look, all your compatriots that claim to worship me are really idolaters, or most of them. Not all, because all the books of the Old Testament promise a remnant of religious people will survive and have immortality. A remnant. So God is saying to Ezekiel, I want you to see these pictures. The idol, all the pictures of animals on the wall being worshipped, that was Egyptian idolatry. Then the women weeping for Tammuz. Tammuz is the same as Adonis, a mythical character who was thought of as the god of spring and vegetation, a god who would die, like in winter, and then be born again in spring. And associated with the rites of this god of fertility was all sorts of immorality. So the prophet is being shown all these forms of wrong worship. And then you have the result in chapter 9, where idolaters are killed. Look at chapter 9. I heard him call out in a loud voice, bring the guards of the city here, each with a weapon in his hand. And I saw 6 men coming from the direction of the upper gate, which faces north, each with a deadly weapon in his hand. With them was a man clothed in linen who had a writing kit at his side. They came in and stood beside the bronze altar. Now the glory of the God of Israel went up from above the cherubim where it had been, moved to the threshold of the temple. The Lord called to the man clothed in linen who had the writing kit at his side and said to him, go throughout the city of Israel, Jerusalem, put a mark on the forehead of those who grieve and lament over all the detestable things that are done in it. As I listened, he said to the others, follow him through the city and kill without showing pity or compassion. Slaughter old men, young men and maidens, women and children, but don't touch anyone who has the mark. Begin at my sanctuary. So they began with the elders who were in front of the temple. This is a symbolic picture of coming destruction on the city of Jerusalem that would affect men and women, husbands and wives, children, priests, the whole lot. But there is to be a remnant escape. Put a mark. This is a very interesting word. It's the Hebrew word for the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which letter signifies a cross. So the people who are to be saved from this terrible catastrophe when Jerusalem was destroyed have the mark of the cross on their foreheads. What is God trying to tell us? He's saying the world is in a mess. The only way out is if we can learn the meaning of the cross. Only if we understand the love of God are we led to love. You can't hammer people by argument into being kind. That's like trying to hammer a rosebud open.